Angelus Domini nunciavit Mariae,
et concepit de Spiritus Sancto.
Ave Maria, gratia plena Dominus tecum, benedicta tu in mulieribus, et benedictus fructus ventris tui, Iesus.
Hello and welcome to Moments with the Master. I am here with Father Major Josh Defer to talk about
Father Lieutenant Colonel Josh Defer?
Huh?
Father Lieutenant Colonel Josh Defer?
Crap!
You know, it's funny. I did this thing this weekend. I was asked to pray for this event called Wreaths of Honor, where they go and they do a big event, but they lay wreaths at the grave sites of veterans. And the lady kept introducing me over and over for the invocation and benediction over and over as Lieutenant Commander, which is not only a change to a different branch of the service, but a demotion. So,
Oh, is it really?
well, yeah, Lieutenant Commander is like the Navy's version of a major.
Oh, what do you know?
Yeah.
It's in prison. The officers went like there were the regular duty officers, and then there was sergeant, lieutenant. There weren't levels. Lieutenant, captain, and then after captain, there were some branch things. Vice warden and warden, assistant warden and warden. So
Interesting.
I used to think about that a lot, like as you were rising up through the ranks. Because anyway, okay.
I would like to be the warden of Vice.
Do what?
I said I would like to be the warden of Vice.
Yes. It's kind of interesting how Vice is one of those contronyms where, on the one hand, it represents somebody who is like second to the top, or somebody who tries to stop Vice, but then it's also somebody who, like a sin that you are participating
Right.
in. Contronyms are fun. Okay, the readings for the sixth Sunday of St. Martin's Lent, or the fourth Sunday of Advent, because they're the same, are Micah chapter 5, verses 2 through 4, Psalm 80, verses 1 and 2, and 14 through 17, Hebrews chapter 10, verses 5 through 10, and the Gospel is Luke chapter 1, verses 39 through 45, which I'm going to read. In those days, Mary arose and went with haste to the hill country, to a city of Judah. And she entered the house of Zechariah and greeted Elizabeth. And when Elizabeth heard the greeting of Mary, the babe leapt in her womb. It says leaped here. And Elizabeth was filled with the Holy Spirit, and she exclaimed with a loud cry, "Blessed are you among women, and blessed is the fruit of your womb. And why is this granted to me, that the mother of my Lord should come to me? For behold, when the voice of your greeting came to my ears, the babe in my womb leaped for joy. And blessed is she who believed that there would be a fulfillment of what was spoken to her from the Lord." The reading stops there, but then, of course, it's followed by the Magnificat. Although I'm thinking of Father Sean now and wondering why he never named one of his many felines Magnificat. I feel like that was a
That's
failure,
funny.
an
Yes.
inexcusable failure on his part.
That would be a great name.
So for this last Sunday of St. Martin's Lent, I wanted to talk about one last hymn. Last year, I was, of course, talking about every week about
O come, Emmanuel.
O come, O come, Emmanuel. Today is, by the time this is read, this will be shown on the 23rd, which is the day that you're supposed to be saying "O come, Emmanuel," because it's the last, and then the 21st. That's when the arrow cross is completed, and Jesus answers with his "Tomorrow I come." This hymn was written in I'm going to say 18th century. I'm pretty sure, maybe early 19th. I've loved it both because it goes to the same Picardy, which is the same tune that we sing "Let All Mortal Flesh Keep Silence" to, but also just the lyrics are great. So I recently discovered that the hymn was longer than I thought it was, and there is this one problematic line.
Are you going to tell us what the hymn is?
Do what?
Are you going to tell us what the hymn is?
I am. Well,
okay.
I'm actually going to read it out before I sing it, and then you can put the sung version of it at the beginning or the end. It's called "Earth Was Waiting." It's not something that appears in. I don't know that it appears in any hymnals that I know of. So here we go, and I'll talk about it. Stop me at any point if there's a particular line that you like or one that you find odd. Earth was waiting, spent and restless, with a mingled hope and fear, and the faithful few were praying, "Surely, Lord, the day is near, the desire of all the nations, it is time he should appear." Still the gods were in their temples, but the ancient faith had fled, and the priests stood by their altars, only for a piece of bread, and the oracles were silenced, and the prophets all were dead. That's one of the new verses that I just learned about, and I love it because it really contextualizes in the theological, religious history of the world and Israel specifically, where Jesus came. Do you remember reading a book? It was one of those books where it was like, what was the one? This Present Darkness. It was like This Present Darkness, but it wasn't that. Where it was telling the story from the perspective of an angel, I think, that was wandering the earth like Cain. But at the beginning of the book, the earth was covered with like a brass shell, and the prayers couldn't get out, and
right.
The word of God was not getting in. Do you remember that?
I do. Breaking through the brass.
That intrigued me.
Yes.
And there was this moment where, at the incarnation, it was Gabriel. Gabriel comes. Oh God, it makes me tear up. Gabriel comes down and takes his sword and like pierces the bronze shell that's covering the earth, and the light and the word of God comes through into Mary. But that's what that verse, like as soon as I read it, that's what it made me think of. That's based on a Bible verse, though, isn't it? The brass thing.
I think so. It's been a minute since I've read that. I'd have to look it up.
Anyway, because you think about when did the presence of God leave the temple?
Oh, during Ezekiel's time.
And there were prophets after that, but there had not been a prophet. Like during the whole period of the Maccabees, there had been no prophets.
No,
they were following the law and respecting the temple in spite of silence from God.
Mm-hmm.
So this was it. This was like the first moment that God broke through. I guess Anna and who's the other
Simeon.
one? Who was the one that was there when Jesus was
Simeon.
circumcised?
Simeon.
They had to have prophesied ahead of time. Still, I love that image that everything had been sealed off and that the word of God broke through the shell when Gabriel came down to talk to Mary.
Yeah.
And the oracles were silent and the prophets all were dead. In the sacred courts of Zion, where the Lord had his abode, and the money changers trafficked, and the sheep and oxen trod, and the world, because of wisdom, knew not either Lord or God. So this was the problematic verse. And I want to know what you think before I discuss it. And the world, because of wisdom, knew not either Lord or God. Because of wisdom.
Huh. Well, I think what they're saying is like man knowledge, not because it's lowercase, not uppercase.
That's what when Father Sean and I were talking about it, that's what I came to as well. I was thinking about the unicorn tapestries where the unicorn represents Jesus. And in the first images, there's a bunch of hunters representing like the knowledgeable and the priests and all that, and they're all trying to capture the unicorn, and they can't because their knowledge is insufficient. Their wisdom, man wisdom, is insufficient, and it's only the humility and the purity of the virgin that brings the unicorn, i.e. Jesus.
Right.
So I also thought that maybe it was a weird, archaic way of saying because of parentheses, a lack of parentheses wisdom.
Right.
So I'm not for sure, but that was an interesting verse. Then the Spirit of the Highest on a virgin meek came down, and he burdened her with blessing, and he pained her with renown, for she bare the Lord's anointed, for his cross and for his crown. Earth for him had groaned and travailed since the ages first began, for in him was hid the secret that through all the ages ran, Son of Mary, Son of David, Son of God, and Son of Man.
I love the line, he pained her with renown.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's one of my favorite images of Mary is called the Mary of Sorrows, and it's based on when Simeon told her that a sword would pierce her heart. So there's traditionally 7 joys and 7 sorrows of Mary. So in these images, she has 7 swords piercing her heart. So that, first of all, but then also because in one of my favorite poems of all time, the Ballad of the White Horse, which is about Alfred the Great, there's this moment where the Danes, the Vikings they've overrun the massed forces of the Anglo-Saxons that had been there before, and the Celts and the Romans that were united under Alfred the Great to fight them. And then he rouses them up again for a last charge, and the Danes are amazed because they, I'm trying to remember how the line goes. It's by something by Recharad, the people of the peace of. He calls them the people of the peace of God, and know not how or why the people of the peace of God go roaring down to die. They're just amazed that they're ready to charge into what they feel like is their death. And then Alfred looks up and he sees Mary, and the line goes, 7 swords were in her heart, but 1 was in her hand. And I'm like, yes, that is the best line.
Oh, that is good.
It is good. And then this last...
Very heroic.
Last part.
Very heroic.
Very heroic, yes. Son of Mary, Son of David, Son of God, and Son of Man. It's just it's a great line. It's a really cool poem. Usually those 2 middle verses are dropped about the oracles and the prophets and about the wisdom, which is, I feel like, is a shame, especially that first one.
Yeah.
It is I like it uniquely for this particular moment during the St. Martin's Lenten season, because Mary has not birthed Jesus yet. She's still in his womb. So it is, it's like that, O come, Emmanuel, where there is a promise there. The people are pleading, and they haven't heard the answer yet, but the answer's like right there. It's right there. And they just don't know it yet. Advent, I went to a church once that was called Advent, and it was one of my favorites because it feels like that is usually our lot on earth, that we're Holy Saturday and Advent Christians, where we've heard promises and we've heard prophecies and we've seen miracles, but we're in like the darkest time, and we've kind of forgotten them, but the answer is right there on the cusp, even if we can't see it and we don't know that it's there.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I'm going to sing this, and yeah, if you can just, I guess, yeah, we'll just leave it in the normal thing. Going to go ahead and apologize ahead of time because I have not been playing and singing a lot, and so I don't know how this is going to go. Any comments before I start?
No, it's a great song.
Okay. Tell me, can you hear the guitar?
Yes.
Okay. Earth was waiting, spent and restless, with a mingled hope and fear. Faithful men and women praying, surely, Lord, the day is near. The desire of all the nations, it is time he should appear. Still the gods were in their temples, but the ancient faith had fled, and the priest stood by their altars, only for a piece of bread. And the oracles were silent, and the prophets all were dead. In the sacred courts of Zion, where the Lord held his abode, there the money changers trafficked, and the sheep and oxen trod, and the world, because of wisdom, knew not either Lord or God. Then the Spirit of the Highest to the Virgin meek came down, and he burdened her with blessing, and he pained her with renown, for she bare the Lord's anointed, for his cross and for his crown. Earth for him had groaned and travailed since the ages first began. For in him was hid the secret that through all the ages ran. Son of Mary, Son of David, Son of God and Son of Man.
It's nice.
Ended on the major A there instead of the A minor, known as the Picardy third. I feel like it adds a little bit of hope towards the end. Yeah, it's really nice. I feel like I wish people would sing this more. I wish people would sing so many hymns more, but especially this one. And that is it.
All right.
Anything else from you?
I do not.
Okay.
Merry almost
Father,
Christmas.
The Son, and the Holy Spirit. I give you my heart, my soul, and my strength. Make me a good man.
Amen.